Welcome to Unit 5. Now, I know last week was a lot of work. You had to use Figma quite a bit to create your wireframes. I know you worked hard, a lot of hours invested, and I'm sure you did great work. And now we are going to move into the phase where we are actually going to take our design and start putting it into WordPress. Before I give you any step-by-step tutorials about it though, I wanted to do an overview and kind of set you up for what you can expect in Unit 5 as we begin working in WordPress. Expectation number 1. Beginning work in WordPress is going to be difficult quite a bit of the time. It will be frustrating. You've just gotten used to Figma, and that may have been a large challenge if you're not used to working in design programs. And now you are going to be learning a different program. And it's a program that in the end is not as easy as Figma. And I know we can't really call Figma easy exactly, but on a scale, it's easier than WordPress. And as we get into WordPress, you'll see why we designed in Figma. But keep with it. It's going to be okay. But just prepare yourself that there's going to be some frustration. And for expectation number 2, this first unit in WordPress, Unit 5, is going to result in you building web pages that do not look like your Figma pages yet. So we begin by doing what's called a rough-in, which means we're just bringing the content in. We're trying to get all of our images, any headlines, copy that we've written, creating buttons, and we're just trying to get those elements in roughly the right order, and we're not worried about the overall design. We're not going to be at first paying attention too much to applying colors to that home page or to an about page, although we'll get you prepared to do the colors soon. So just be aware that the first time you're putting things into WordPress, it's just a rough-in. We're just bringing in content, and your overall design isn't something we're looking at yet. But we will absolutely refine it in the next 2 units. So expectation number 3, okay, I guess I've mentioned this, but working in WordPress will be different than working in Figma. Just to give you an example, I'm going to take you to a rough-in page that I built for another tutorial. And so what we have here is a rough-in in which I have an image here, I have a headline, I have a subhead, and I have some pictures, a bulleted list, some body copy, and another image here. And this is not what the Figma page looks like, but it is the elements that were on that Figma page. So it has I've loaded the images and I've loaded the copy, kind of roughly put things in the order they're supposed to be, that I'm going to want them to be. But I'm not worrying about size, I'm not worrying about colors, I'm not worrying about font in the beginning. And just to show you how different it is, so like this image, in Figma it was probably the same size as this text box, but I can't just pick it up and move it. It's stuck in a container here. And so the only way I can change this picture is by changing the container. So I can't just like pull a corner and make it bigger. This way it doesn't work. So I have to, there's one of the things I could do is, I didn't mean to do that. I could move a margin so it makes this change, but I can't just easily do things with it. I could go over here and make a predetermined size, but even on this one, the full, it's not really full. I have to do a bunch of things to actually get it to full. I would have to make sure that I've done stuff here, and I'm going to have to go in and be able to click a few different areas, and it's going to have to, I can work with margins, and if I want to then bring it over, then I have to then, where is it? Is it centered? Is my content, where is it exactly? Maybe I can left align it. But anyways, it's just not as easy or straightforward. I can't just drag, drop, drag a corner. I have to do all of my changes within here. And let's see if I go to full width. Here's another place I can do full width, maximum width. But of course, right now, then it's kind of hanging off the page, whereas it should be kind of ending right here. So there's just little things I need to monkey around with. So nothing's fast when I am working in WordPress and in this program, which is called Elementor in particular. All right, so just be prepared. It is different than Figma. Some of the commands in WordPress and something that are called plugins, which are kind of like the programs that you'll use within WordPress. I'll demonstrate these things in videos, how to install, activate, and then use any of the programs. But you may find that how it looks in my video may be different than how it looks when you're looking at your WordPress website and you're working on your pages. And I have to say, this is something that's quite common, so I want you to expect it, because most programs will update. And when I say programs, I'm talking these plugins, which are programs that help us do things. They update 12 to 20 times a year. And that's a good thing, because hackers will often make their way into websites through a vulnerability in a plugin. And so that they're being changed and updated so often is great, because it's more secure for us. However, at the same time they're updating security features in the plugins, they are also making changes. They might change a word here or there, and they might change the color of a tool. They might change where a tool is placed. And WordPress itself will have updates as well. So it's just, things are updating. So it's not unusual for something to look different when you're working on your program than what you see in a class video. Another reason why it might look different is that some programs do beta testing, and you may receive a different version of the program. So let's say 90% of people get a version A of the plugin, the program, and 10% of people are given version B. And it's happened in a couple of my classes that I've had one or two students in a beta test version, and often it just takes kind of looking at things an extra time and figuring out how to proceed, but it just might look a little bit different. So if you look at your WordPress website, you look at your plugin programs, you look at your web pages, and if your commands or tools look different than what's being shown in a class video, first thing I would say is try Googling. Say Google. Go to Google and just ask for update to Elementor plugin program on WordPress, and then give the date and see if somebody's written about it, because usually if when there are big changes that are confusing, there will be lots of people writing about it, and then you can just look and see what it looks like now. And also videos, a lot of people create videos on YouTube, so feel free to have that kind of self-sufficiency to first kind of look and see if there have been changes. But of course, you can always talk to your instructor, but because it changes so quickly, There's no way. There's over 100 videos that are created for this class, so obviously can't update those videos 12 to 20 times a year, or else we'd be creating thousands of videos every year. So that's not possible. So feel free to Google, but also, if you don't find anything or you find it confusing, absolutely talk to your instructor. Expectation number 5. If you don't watch the videos in order, you may miss necessary information to follow some steps. While this isn't always the case, it does happen. So take a look at your list of resources in Moodle and kind of follow in that order. And again, that isn't always necessary, but often it is. So let's say in this unit, like you're really excited to create a menu. But let's say if you look at the resources, it's the last menu it's the last video listed. And so even if you're excited about it, don't rush it and try to do the menu first, because there are 2 menu tutorials and they are both assuming that you've already learned how to use one of the WordPress plugins called Elementor, and it also assumes that you've created global colors and fonts, which is like doing a style guide in Figma, and it will expect that you've done these things. So if you do that first, it's not going to be easy, it's going to be confusing for you. So follow things in order in general. Expectation number 6, I always recommend that you keep multiple tabs open in your browser to avoid a lot of wasted time exiting one page and entering another. So let's see if I can bring up, actually that is not what I wanted to bring up. I want to bring up Safari. All right, so if you look here, I have a number of pages open. This is what's called the dashboard in WordPress. I have that open. I have a page that I could be editing in here. Then I have the website itself. So after I make an edit on a page, then I will look at here to see what it looks like in its native environment. And so I'll have a number of different tabs open. Just to show you, if we look here, let's say I wanted to save the changes that I just did here. To leave, and you'll get this in another video, but just for instance, to leave here, I would have to click exit, or I'd have to click that, sorry, let me show that again, the hamburger menu, the exit, and then it would take me here. Now, does it take a long time? I mean, it only took probably 10 seconds, but if then I right away want to do something else, I want to go to pages and I want to go to a different page, and to have that open, that's going to take another 10 seconds. Whereas if I just had another tab open, I've saved 20 seconds, and sometimes things take longer. So it's just easier to work with a bunch of tabs open. All right. Expectation number 7. Elementor in WordPress has a memory. So sometimes you'll create a row or a column on your website, but you've decided to change it a few times. And if, for an example, let's go back. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. That's what I want. Let's go back to, actually, let's go back to this one that we were just looking at, and how I move that picture around here a bunch. Sometimes I'll get it where it looks great on this particular page here. It's exactly how I want it. And then I go to see what it looks like on the website. And I can always just click this preview changes. And it doesn't look like how I thought it looked. It looks different here than it did here, for instance. And so sometimes what I find is that because it's been moved around and a lot of changes were made, there's basically coding that's going on behind the scenes, and it when I'm making a change, it's not really deleting the last change I had made. So we're getting a whole string of commands, and it can be quite confusing. So sometimes what I just need to do is go ahead, and you'll learn how to do this in another video, but sometimes I just need to delete it and start from scratch and put that image in there again, and just start over. And here I'd even take that little container out there. And sometimes that's just what we need to do, is to start over. So just remember, if you've made a bunch of changes and it doesn't seem to be reflected when you look at it on the website, it is possible that you just need to start over. And since you've played with it a bunch and you know what you thought you were going to like, now you just, as you put it in there, you can just make those same changes, and you can just make those same changes, and then but you won't have all the memory attached to it. One thing as I'm on here, as I mentioned, that what you see on my tutorials might look different than what you have. I sometimes have different programs on here. So I have some things that you won't see, like on here you'll probably have a plus sign, but I have templates, AI, and then different things that I can use. So that's a library. What is this one? I think this is Templately, which is templates. So I have some things on here that you won't. So don't be fazed by that when there are differences like that. All right. Expectation number 8. Just to repeat, that work in WordPress will probably be frustrating, but if something major happens, you can't access your website, your content is suddenly missing, it's possible that you've been hacked. This has happened the past few semesters. I've taught this class that someone has been hacked. So please contact your instructor immediately, because once a hacker accesses one of our sites, all of the others are vulnerable, and we have to move really quickly to fix it and to put down some extra controls so that it doesn't happen again. So to give you an example, we had one hacking last semester. It was a student who hadn't installed one of our security plugin programs, and so a hacker found their way into that one, and within a day it had spread to about 70% of the other websites, and it took me, I don't know, 25 hours of going in, and I had to do some very careful coding to be able to get rid of the malware, the malicious coding, while still retaining all the work the students had done. So the faster that we can get to work on it, the faster we can fix it. And so let me use just an analogy of why, if one site is hacked, the others are vulnerable. I want you to think about your website. Let's think of it as a mobile home. And your mobile home lives in a mobile home park, an area where maybe there's 20 other mobile homes, a little neighborhood. And those 20 homes are pretty much the same structure as each other. So your website's a mobile home, and it lives in a mobile home park, a neighborhood, and that mobile home park is a server in the web design world. And we have a server in which a lot of websites are kept together. And if you think of a thief breaking into one mobile home, into this park, or breaking into one website, then they kind of learn the layout, they see what's happening. It's easier to go to the home next door and get into it because they've learned what's happened. Also, you may find that if you turn off, let's say you turn off an alarm in one house, maybe there's something about it that it's connected to all of the other homes in the neighborhood. And so by disconnecting it in one place, it now disconnects it on a lot of the other sites. So anyways, so this analogy is like you can get that hacker out of one site pretty easily, but if sometimes, if you work fast, but if they've learned and they start moving on those other sites, it can become a bit of a nightmare. Can we clean it? Most of the time, yes. Most of the time, not all the time. But we'll try to teach you to create backups so that you will not, if we do lose a website, we can reinstall it before the hacking began. Okay, expectation number 9. I want you to stick with your Figma wireframe plan rather than letting WordPress dictate what your web pages should look like. As you start working in WordPress and the program Elementor that we're going to use, because it is kind of clunky, it's not easy like the drag and drop in Figma, at some point most people say, oh, I'm just going to follow a template that somebody else created. Don't do it. We've spent 4 units focusing on user-centered design. We've thought about your ideal user. We're choosing colors and fonts and making rows and columns that will appeal to your user. And that's what I want you to continue to do. I do not want you to be using templates. And just to give you an example, we do have, like, this is an Inspiro template, which is a program that it's actually called a theme that you'll be installing on your website. And so you'll notice that they have a headline here, they have body copy here, they have a button here, and all you have to do is to change what words are in here and change the photo. Again, change the words. You can change the colors and fonts too, but otherwise, they've set it up. And is it nice? Yeah. I mean, it's nice. They're decent. Here's another one. It looks a little bit different, but it's where we put an image in. We have a headline. They've created a little hero section here. So are they nice? Yeah, but they're not what you've spent all this time designing to appeal to your audience, your users. So don't do it. It'll take us time to get your Figma design operationalized in WordPress, but we will do it. And if I think we need to make some changes, or if your instructor thinks you need to make some changes, your instructor will let you know. Because most of the time, what you dreamed in Figma we can do in WordPress is just not easy. It takes time, but we can do it. All right, expectation number 10. Check out rapid fire videos that will be available to you. So in units, there'll continue to be some full lecture videos that will teach a whole process. So if I'm teaching you how to load in your homepage for the first time, how to bring in images, how to bring in text, I'll have a video that might be, 28 minutes long, and you'll watch that whole video. But then when you go to do it yourself, maybe you've forgotten how to put an image in. And so I've created rapid fire videos, which is just a quick, usually they're from between 1 to 3 minutes, that will just be a rapid fire how to insert an image in WordPress. So you don't have to search through the long video and try to find that exact step. And sometimes later when you're trying to remember how to do something, you might not even remember which of the full lecture videos had that particular step. So again, here, the rapid fires are available to you to refresh your memory. They're not required. They're simply to help you quickly get an answer. Expectation 11. If you run into a problem, it's unlikely that your instructor is going to understand exactly what the problem is from an email description. So when I'm teaching this class on campus, I get this all the time, where a student will email me and say, my picture's not formatting correctly. And I have no idea what that means, because I could think of about, I can probably think of 15 ways that a photo might not be, quote, formatting, unquote, exactly. So I need to see what's happening. So go ahead and take a video to show the instructor your problem. Now, if you know how to do screen videos on your computer, great. But if you don't, you know what? Just hold up your cell phone and make a video with a cell phone. It doesn't have to be high quality. Your instructor just needs to be able to see what you're doing and, see you try to do something and see what's happening, why it's not working. Now note that videos are usually too large to send through Lee email, so just upload your video to OneDrive and share a link to the video with your instructor. And personally, if I'm the one teaching the class, I will also create videos to show a student how to get beyond a particular problem. So I'll see what you're doing, see what's wrong, and then I'll make a quick 1 to 2 minute video to say, hey, this is what you can do to fix it. So expectation 12, I kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier, but if you find a class video confusing, it's great to do a Google search and see if you can find some different instructions from the web. Sometimes the way I explain something in a video might be different than the way you're easily processing that information. So if you find a step-by-step in a blog, or you find a YouTube video with a step-by-step, sometimes that may present it in a way that makes more sense to you. So that's fine, great, do it. I think this is a good skill, actually, if you're going to ever work with a WordPress in the future, because things are always updating and changing. And so I still, I'll do this as well. So I come across something that's unusual, and I'll also do a Google search, and I have a number of favorite YouTube designers that I like and recommend. I'll give them to you at a different time, but there are a lot of great instructions out there. Just remember that WordPress and plugins, those programs, update 12 to 20 times a year, so just look for recent content. I wouldn't look for a tutorial from 2018, for instance, because you can be pretty sure that it's nothing like what you're trying to do now, or it's unlikely to be similar. So expectation 13, just to remind you, work in WordPress will be frustrating, probably this first week, but we're not going to stay there. All right, expectation 14, everything will take longer in WordPress than you think it will. So adjusting the placement of an image may take 10 to 15 minutes because you can't drag and drop it. This means you should allow yourself plenty of time to do your assignment. So don't wait for Monday to watch a set of 4 videos that have 4 tutorials and think you'll be able to finish watching the videos and following along with the tutorials for an assignment. Start watching on Friday when you're done with your earlier work from that week, and start following along with those tutorials. Work steadily on each task so you'll be ready to turn everything in Monday evening. It just takes longer, especially in the beginning. Unit 5, it's going to take much longer. But by the time we're in Unit 7, you're going to be clicking along at a good pace, so it's not going to take long. But just know, especially in the beginning, it will take time. Expectation 15. Just to keep in mind for your course project is that you will be turning in a final website, and you'll want to check for exact final course project specs, specifications in Moodle, because this could change over time depending on who the instructor of the course is. But generally, when I'm teaching the class, what I expect a student to turn in would be a website that has a home page, an about page, a contact page, a privacy policy, and then 2 to 3 additional pages, which you get to choose the content on those pages. And we don't, for those 2 to 3 additional pages, we don't wireframe them. The wireframe was just for the home and about to establish your style and what your website looks like. Now, as we get into when you're doing your website, I'm okay with you designing within WordPress. All right, so that's in general. So as you think, that's what you're going to be working on throughout the semester. Okay, expectation 16. Again, I want you to know Unit 5 will probably have a difficult learning curve. Has a fair amount of tutorials that you'll be learning, and the processes are going to feel different than what you expect. And I think most students have at least one time during the first part of learning WordPress and Elementor that they're like, oh, I can't do this. I don't get it. I don't understand it. Oh, but you can. I know it's hard. I know it doesn't always make sense. It's not really easy to understand, but you can. You can do this. Unit 6, you're going to be more comfortable. You're going to understand how the programs basically work, kind of what some of the quirks are, and we'll start customizing your designs. So whereas Unit 5 was that rough-in where we just got content in there, Unit 6 is where we're going to start making it look like your Figma page was. And so it will start coming to life, and you'll kind of have that pleasure of seeing your design come to life. And a lot of the videos are going to be short here because they're quick processes, not big overall processes. In fact, when you have to create a contact page or a privacy policy page, it's going to be so fast. I mean, I feel like I have students who get giddy, downright giddy, when we're in class, and during one class, we create a contact page and a privacy policy. And if you remember, that's part of your final project, what you have to turn in. And whereas the home page and the about page are going to take 20 to 40 hours to do, we're going to have 2 pages, contact and privacy, which can be lightning quick, and that's exciting. Unit 7 will have even less videos, less tutorials. This is just your time to refine your work. So you will be working and investing the time in order to get your site to look how you want it to look, building your last pages, and so very few videos. Just don't be fooled and think, oh, this is a week of rest, when you look and see very few videos and the assignments are kind of broad. You'll still need to invest that time. The other thing we'll be learning in the last week is search engine optimization and being able to do that. But we have to have our pages built before we can do that. All right, so a lot of expectations there. Remember, it might be a little frustrating, but actually by the time we're done with Unit 7, you're going to be pretty adept in this. You can go out and you can create websites for businesses, for nonprofits, for yourself. And that's pretty amazing. So it might be frustrating now, expect it, but by end of Unit 7, I think you're going to be pretty proud of what you can accomplish.